Hey, welcome back to another super early Oscar prediction video. In this video, I'll be covering the category of Best Picture. So I'll be talking about my top 5 movies, the ones that I think are most likely to get nominated at this point. I'll choose a predicted winner, and I'll talk about some other movies that could also be in the conversation. All right, so we're talking Best Picture, and before we get going too far, I just want to clarify that in this category, there will be 10 movies nominated for Best Picture. I'm just keeping the same format as my other videos for now. Once we get a little bit further into the race, I'll probably start ranking things, and so you'll be able to see the top 10 and all of that. So without further ado, let's jump to it. So my first film in the top 5 for Best Picture is Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon is a film about a series of murders in Oklahoma committed against members of the Osage tribe in the 1920s. As of right now, it still doesn't have a release date, but it is expected to release later this year. So this film is directed by Martin Scorsese and stars Leonardo DiCaprio. So right away, we've got some big names attached. And I believe I mentioned this in my Best Actor prediction video, but it definitely deserves to be mentioned here as well. As I was researching some of these movies, I found this really interesting stat about Scorsese and DiCaprio collaborations. So they have a near flawless record when it comes to Best Picture nominations. They have collaborated on 5 different movies in the past: Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Of those 5 films, 4 of them were nominated for Best Picture. Only Shutter Island was not. When you think about that, when these two guys get together and make a movie, there is probably a very good chance that it's going to be nominated for Best Picture at this point. So to leave Killers of the Flower Moon out of the conversation at this point would be pretty silly. So Martin Scorsese has been nominated for 14 Academy Awards in the past, but he's only won 1 for directing The Departed. The film also stars Jesse Plemons, Lily Gladstone, Robert De Niro, and Brendan Fraser. So it's a great supporting cast that will only strengthen the movie. This is like one of the highly anticipated films of the year, no doubt about it. Everyone's been talking about it for a while. Yeah, it's supposed to be great. We'll probably get multiple nominations. Definitely expecting it to factor into the Best Picture race. Another important fact to highlight is that it's being distributed by Apple TV+. It's important to mention because Apple TV+ is fresh off of its first win for CODA this past year, so whether it could replicate that with Killers of the Flower Moon is yet to be seen, but they seem to at least know what they're doing when marketing a movie, so that's always an important part of the race. The next film in my top 5 is The FABELMANS. The FABELMANS is a film by Steven Spielberg. He is producing, directing, co-writing, heavily involved in this film. It's a semi-autobiographical film, basically about him growing up. And so basically this film is about one of the most famous and most decorated film directors in history. This is a very personal project for Spielberg. Again, this is one of the most anticipated films of the year, so a lot of talk about it, a lot of expectations. Definitely expecting this to factor into the Best Picture lineup. Spielberg has 19 Oscar nominations, all for either producing or directing, and he has 3 wins, so he has 3 Oscars already. The most recent one, though, being for directing Save It Private Ryan in 1999. So it's been a while since he's won. Like I already said, this film is about his early years and explores the beginning stages of his passion for filmmaking, possibly. It has a Thanksgiving release, November 23rd, so that's prime time for an Oscar movie to come out. The cast includes Gabriel LaBelle, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Julia Butters, Seth Rogen, David Lynch, which is an interesting addition there. Michelle Williams, I think, is a frontrunner for Best Supporting Actress. Paul Dano, possibly Seth Rogen, could also factor into the Best Supporting Actor. So really high quality cast. Not only does this film have a great cast, but it has a great crew as well. And when you talk about like people in the film industry who know what they're doing, you can't really get much stronger than this. Spielberg's co-writer is Tony Kushner. He's had 2 Oscar nominations. The cinematographer is Janusz Kaminski. He's been nominated 7 times, won twice. Composer is John Williams, of course, 52 nominations. He's won 5 Oscars. The last one was in 1994 for Schindler's List. So again, been a while for John Williams. So it's just crazy the experience and success that is behind this film. So this movie really does not have a weak point that I can identify at this point. Definitely looking forward to it. Should be a really strong contender in a lot of different categories. All right, next up in my top 5 is Babylon. So Babylon is directed by Damien Chazelle, and Damien Chazelle has had a lot of success in his relatively short career. I mean, for a director, he is still very young. His last 3 movies, Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man, have all received Oscar love. Whiplash received 5 nominations, won 3. La La Land received 14 nominations, received 6 Oscars. First Man had 4 nominations and won 1 Oscar. So Damien Chazelle himself, he has been nominated 3 times and he's won once, and that was for directing La La Land. So very impressive record there for Damien Chazelle. So just looking at those numbers, just looking at what Damien Chazelle has done in the past, it's like you just can't leave Babylon out of the conversation. It's gonna be part of the conversation. It's gonna be a front runner in multiple categories probably. So yeah, so with his track record, it would just be dumb to ignore it at this point. So again, for this one, I have not seen an exact release date, but it is expected to come out at the end of the year. So this movie is starring Margot Robbie, which I kind of have to pause here and say that I did not have Margot Robbie in my top 5 best actress list, even though I did mention her as being in the conversation. And several of you in the comments have been giving me flack, and that's totally fine and probably deserved actually. But yeah, I didn't have Margot Robbie in my top 5, and that might be dumb at this point because a lot of people are having her as the front runner, and I totally understand that. And I guess my only excuse is that I just wasn't feeling super excited about her when I was making the video. I was just waiting to hear a little bit more about the film. I mean, she'll probably enter my top 5 at some point in the season because her career has been amazing. She is one of the most sought after actresses in the business right now. She is just dynamite. She's a phenomenal actress. You know, the argument can be made that she is due her Oscar at this point, and I would agree. It would be a crime if she does not ever win an Oscar because her career up until now has been brilliant. So I just wanted to recognize that some of you are calling me out for not having her in my top 5. Totally get it. That could possibly and probably will change at some point in the future. So anyway, so Margot Robbie is in this movie. Who else? Brad Pitt, Tobey Maguire, Olivia Wilde, Jean Smart, and a whole lot more. This cast is just freaking incredible. Definitely a stacked cast. Not too much officially has come out about the plot of the movie. It's rumored to be set in period Hollywood, perhaps about the transition from silent films to talkies, which is just a really fun period of time to be making a movie about. Again, we know Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood, so that even more strengthens the chance of it being nominated. You know, there have been some test screenings of the movie, and, you know, there are arguments to be said, like how much you can actually take from test screening chatter, but the word masterpiece has been thrown around quite a bit, which is a pretty strong word. But also, from what I've read, this movie sounds insane. And we're talking about like elephants, orgies, not at the same time. But yeah, this movie just sounds really insane. And from rumors that I've heard about the script, the roles for both Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt should be really juicy. So that could be great for Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie's chances of being nominated for their performances. With the talent involved, the director, Damien Chazelle, this is a movie that you should not ignore. It is going to be talked about a lot. And at this point is a pretty strong contender for Best Picture. And the next film on my list is Women Talking. And Women Talking is directed by Sarah Polley. And it's been 10 years since Sarah Polley has directed a feature film, so it's been a little while. And even though her past work has been well received, well respected, that on its own wouldn't make me jump so quickly to put this movie in my top 5. What does make me jump so quickly is who all is involved with this film and who has, by kind of tossing their hat in the ring and being attached to this movie, has seen something in the screenplay, in Sarah Polley's vision for this movie to say like, hey, I want to be a part of this. This is going to be really good. So first off, the cast is incredible. Like, we're talking some serious heavyweight actresses here. Frances McDormand, Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Also, Ben Whishaw is in the cast, so stellar cast all around. And it's just really interesting to look at just the caliber of this cast. When we're talking Oscars, Frances McDormand has 7 Oscar nominations and 4 wins. One of those is a producing win, but 3 of them are acting wins. Rooney Mara has 2 nominations. Jessie Buckley has a nomination. Claire Foy and Ben Whishaw, while neither of them have Oscar nominations, they both have a couple Emmy wins and a Golden Globe win. So just stellar actors all around. So its producers also should be pointed out. One of them is Frances McDormand, who won for Nomadland. And then Brad Pitt with his production company Plan B. He has an Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. So a couple producers there who have Oscars, who obviously are able to identify good material to back. And I apologize in advance, but I'm probably going to botch this name. Hildur Guðnadóttir, who is the Icelandic composer who won an Oscar for her amazing score in Joker. So that's really exciting. You know the score is going to be phenomenal. The release date for Women Talking is December 2nd, which is prime time for an Oscar release. Women Talking is about a group of women in an isolated Mennonite religious colony in Bolivia as they struggle to reconcile their faith with a string of sexual assaults committed by the colony's men. So sounds like a pretty heavy topic, lot of opportunity for some real good acting. So the fact that Sarah Polley is directing and all the different people attached to it just makes this a really exciting film to watch. So definitely excited to see this one and expecting it to do well. Not only in Best Picture, but for it to be a factor in a lot of different categories. Next up in my top 5 Best Picture lineup is Empire of Light. So Empire of Light is a love story set in and around a beautiful old cinema on the south coast of England in the 1980s. And again, it's about an old, beautiful cinema. The Academy loves this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's a movie about a cinema, but it sounds like the cinema is going to be the setting for possibly part of the movie. So right there, that's some Oscar bait. This movie is directed and written by Sam Mendes. This is his follow-up to 1917. And so we all know that 1917 was a huge player in the Oscars. It had 10 Oscar nominations. Sam Mendes had 3 of those for picture, directing, and original screenplay. He didn't end up winning any of those. He has been nominated a total of 4 times, but the only time he's won was for directing American Beauty. So Roger Deakins is the cinematographer in this one, so you know it's gonna look good. And so this one, again, has a great cast. It stars Olivia Colman, the Oscar winner. Obviously, the Academy loves her. She is just phenomenal in everything she does. Colin Firth, also Oscar winner. He's great. Toby Jones and Michael Ward are also in the cast. I was looking up Michael Ward because I didn't think I had seen anything that he had been in. He is an up-and-coming young Jamaican-British actor, and he actually was awarded the BAFTA Rising Star Award in 2020. So when I read that, I was just a little bit curious, and so decided to look up who else had won this BAFTA Rising Star Award, because I definitely couldn't remember off the top of my head. In the past decade or so, the following people have also won this award: Daniel Kaluuya, Tom Holland, John Boyega, Juno Temple, Tom Hardy, Kristen Stewart. So, you know, not a bad list of names. Definitely not a bad group of people to be listed with. Just random trivia there. So yeah, great cast there for sure. So there's currently not a release date for Empire of Light, but it is expected this fall. So that wraps up my top 5. So again, that's Killers of the Flower Moon, The Fabelmans, Babylon, Women Talking, and Empire of Light in my top 5 right now for the Best Picture race. Of those top 5, right now my predicted winner would be The Fabelmans. Again, The Fabelmans is just this deeply personal project from Spielberg. He hasn't received an Oscar since 1999, so I think it's his time for another one. This film also has a solid cast. It has a super strong crew with a lot of Oscar cred, and I think that just depending on how the story is told or how much, Spielberg dives into what led him into filmmaking, I could really see this becoming, a love letter to film type of movie, which would obviously play well with the Academy. Because of all of that, I could really see The Fabelmans winning here. And yeah, I just think it's really strong. I don't really see a weakness in it at this point. It's going to be a super strong contender, and right now it's my pick for predicted Best Picture winner. And just a reminder that in this category of Best Picture, when it comes time for the actual Oscar nominations, this category will have a lineup of 10 films, not just 5. All right, so here are my other films that could also possibly be in the Best Picture conversation. I have Bardo, and this is Alejandro Iñárritu's film that's expected this year. There has been some controversy around this film with how Iñárritu handled, or rather didn't handle, COVID protocols during filmmaking, so not sure how that drama will affect or factor into awards chances, but regardless, Iñárritu is one of the premier directors of our time currently, so any film of his should be one to keep an eye on for sure. Another film that's in the conversation definitely is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This was directed by the Daniels. The love for this movie has been huge. A lot of support for this movie currently, but it was released so early in the year, and that gives me a little bit of pause. The thing to watch for here is whether the momentum can last through the rest of the season. Also one to watch for is The Sun, Florian Zeller's latest adaptation starring Hugh Jackman and Laura Dern. Another one to keep an eye on is Rustin. This is the biopic starring Coleman Domingo about Bayard Rustin. Also on my list is She Said, which is the film about the New York Times reporters who broke the Weinstein story that started the whole Me Too movement. The Woman King is also on my list. This is the historical epic starring Viola Davis and directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. So that one could be a really fun, interesting movie. Noah Baumbach's White Noise is also on my list. This could be another contender for Netflix. I also have Amsterdam on my list. This was going by the working title of Canterbury Glass earlier in the year. It's the new David O. Russell film. David O. Russell definitely had a string of great movies that did really well with the Oscars. Joy, which came out in 2015, was kind of a flop though. He also has some controversy surrounding him with some abuse allegations. So I don't know how that's going to factor into it all. But this film has a great cast, which is pretty typical for a David O. Russell film. And it also has names like Emmanuel Lubezki attached for cinematographer. So yeah, at this point, yeah, like I said, I don't know how the controversy is going to affect this film, but at this point I wouldn't count it out. And dare I even mention Top Gun Maverick. There are a lot of people talking about this one right now, and I totally would have never guessed it, but this movie is getting great reviews. Audiences are loving it. I think it's a long shot at this point, but if it gets really strong traction in some plausible categories like sound, editing, original song, visual effects, then I could definitely see a path to Best Picture for this movie. Crazier things have definitely happened. Okay, I could keep going on that list for a while, but I will leave it there for now. If you enjoyed this super early Best Picture prediction video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out my channel. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.